I meal prepped breakfast for a few days as I'm finding I have no time with work to eat. So I decided to meal prep. Before I even cooled it down to put it in the fridge, my husband ate half of it. They were small items, but I'm extremely frustrated as eating 5/12 of the meal prepped food seems excessive to me in one sitting. But also, I was excited to have them every day this week. I kindly mentioned, "Oh, you ate 5?" I was hoping to have them throughout the week for my meal prep. I did mention to him I meal prepped them prior to him eating it. He told me I should take it as a compliment, and as a wife, I should be happy to make him food and him eat whatever the portion is. He pretty much started freaking out saying how I'm being not a real partner by calling it out. I don't mind him eating some of it, like, let's say, if it was 2, or even max 3, I wouldn't care as much, but to eat almost half of it before I even had a chance to eat one. Am I overreacting? Am I the asshole? I, 17 male, am a senior in the southern US. The towns near mine are small, so my town and 2 others combined to make the high school. There are elementary/middle schools in all 3 towns though, so I hadn't met many of the people there until 9th grade. Last Thursday when I got to school there were 2 open parking spots next to each other, so I parked there. Everything was fine until the end of the day. My friends, Mark and Joe, were coming over to my house, but we got to my car and I saw it was wrecked. Both of the left side doors were dented all the way from the back to the front. My side view mirror was completely gone. My left tail light was smashed and the bumper was hanging off. Neither door on the left could open, so I couldn't get in. The car that had parked next to me was gone, but whoever was there did it. Mark and Joe were shocked, and I was kneeling in disbelief. I called my dad, and he said to stay there, and he'd leave work. He called the police, but I was still in shock, so he talked to them before they asked me what happened. I told them what I knew, which was not a lot, and they drove me home while my dad talked to them for a little while longer. Me, Mark, and Joe went back to mine, and my dad came home a little while later. He said they'd see what they could do, but there are no cameras in the parking lot, so there was no video. Then Mark yelled, he knows who did it. He had texted his GF and told her about my car, and she said she saw a girl, Annie, driving and the right side of her truck was ruined. Joe had texted his brother, and he said that he saw Annie park next to me since her truck is bright red. Annie lives in another town, but she seemed fine. We weren't friends, but we knew similar people, so we hung out sometimes. Annie has a massive pickup truck, but she doesn't really need one. Her mom's a teacher, her dad's an elementary principal, and Annie works at a grocery store. Me, Mark, and Joe drove over to Annie's house to see if her truck was damaged. Her truck was in her driveway, her right headlight was broken, and her right doors were scraped. Annie ran out of her house, and I asked if she hit my car. She freaked out and was yelling. Her dad ran up and said that he'd call the cops if we didn't scram, so we left. Friday morning, I got called into the principal's, Mr. S., office. Annie, her dad, and her uncle, the police chief, were there. I tried to say I knew Annie hit my car, but Mr. S told me there was a report I harassed Annie at her house. I tried to explain and ask if I could call my dad, but the principal said that they have a zero-tolerance policy for harassment, and I was suspended. They told me to leave, and the principal told me to just let it go, and then I can go back. I texted my friends, and most of them told me Annie is crazy and they're with me, but some told me that I should chill cause Annie didn't mean to hit my car. So, am I the asshole? Should I have just let it go? Am I the asshole for calling out my grandparents for stuff they said to my mom in front of their friends and extended family? My parents and I, 16F, spent Saturday with my dad's family. So when my mom went missing in action for a bit longer than usual, I went looking for her and found her upset. She said nothing was wrong. But an hour later I heard my grandparents call her a bad mom, and I stopped, and admittedly I eavesdropped on what they were saying. They were saying mom should be ashamed for crying where I could see, and how did my dad ever let her raise me with him when she abandoned me when I was a baby for weeks and didn't even care about me back then? They said mom was a lunatic and should be ashamed of herself for ruining my life. The context to that is my mom had PPP, postpartum psychosis, after I was born. She got really sick and spent 11 weeks in a hospital/treatment center to help her because she was really at risk. My dad tried to get her help, but a lot of people dismissed him. I was maybe 8 or 9 weeks old before someone took him seriously and helped him with mom and got her the help she needed. The experience left them both with trauma, and it took mom a long time to recover fully. But when she had, they were afraid to risk more kids, and so they decided they were one and done with me. I've always been aware of this. So hearing my grandparents speak to mom like that was awful. Mom left them while I was still eavesdropping, and she pulled me away and said it was okay. A while later, a group of us were in the kitchen eating, and my grandparents were making comments about how lucky some people were to have lots of grandkids, and how much it helps when each kid has more than one. My dad was like, WTF at them. That's when I brought up how shitty they were to make more digs at more. I called them out on it. I said it was disgusting and mom didn't deserve the shit they said. My grandparents told me that I didn't understand, and I know they love me. I said they sure didn't talk like that. I said calling my mom a lunatic and rubbing it in her face that she only had me and no more with dad when they know she was sick after me. Made it seem like I wasn't enough for them. I also said it was shitty to shame a woman who made the safest choice for her family. My dad was furious with his parents and asked what the hell was going on. They slipped up and basically confessed that they'd been saying shit to mom since I was a baby and always went behind everyone's backs so we wouldn't know. They tried to lecture me about calling them out, but dad shut it down and asked me and mom to wait in the car. Apparently, some of the extended family are anti-me now for calling out my grandparents in front of others, and my grandparents are also saying how disrespectful I am. Dad raged at anyone who blamed me. But I do wonder if I should have handled it more privately, like telling dad, instead of calling them out like that. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for making my wife delete a photo of us? My wife posted a photo of us recently, and I absolutely hated the way I looked. It was 2 photos. I said the one photo was okay to post, but the other was terrible. I recently had a very bad haircut. She posted it anyway, and I was very upset. I told her to delete it. She said she won't because people already saw it, and she asked at the time if these photos were okay when she took the photos.
I said I didn't get a good look at them at the time.
She deleted it and started crying. She got so mad at me and wouldn't talk to me for hours after I made her delete it. She said most guys wouldn't care and would just let their wife be happy.